Yo, what's good? This is Stu TV. I cover all things blockchain, metaverse, crypto, NFTs. Welcome to another episode of Beast TV. I have a special guest with me today. I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself to the audience. What's good, man?
What's good? What's good? It's your boy Charles Gregory here. We talk weekly after the talk. Your favorite radio host, television host, and wardrobe stylist, image consultant across the world, across the globe. That's who I am right here, Charles Gregory. Y'all, what's up?
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you coming on, man, and everything. I know once again this is just another episode of Beast TV. Just keeping the series going, and definitely appreciate you coming on for this interview and different things. Just hopefully just to give the Beast community more just far as just figuring out your implications with the Beast and like your affiliations with that community. But just to start off, um I was wanting to ask, like, who is Charles Gregory, and like, what's been your experience in A Kid Called Beast?
Yeah, so Charles Gregory is actually made, it's this underlying conversation or joke about if you doxed or not, right? And one of the responses that I say is that I'm 100% doxed, right? So Charles Gregory is me. You can look me up, you Google me, find me. And so I'm a radio show host, television host, and a wardrobe stylist. I'm a credentialed wardrobe stylist and image consultant in the industry for almost 20 years now. So I've been doing a lot of campaigning as it relates to making people look fantastic and dressing a lot of celebrities that's out there. So I started in school, fly guys, people who were, stylish, and that just kind of like, followed me throughout this whole thing. And so I took that to the next step, and that was making people look fantastic. And from there, I went into being a wardrobe stylist working for a luxury lifestyle magazine called Avenue Report. Shout out to Toyana Wesu. The sister created this lifestyle and fashion magazine, and I started to, work with her and utilize that platform. And from there, just to make a long story short, that magazine was centered towards men within the industry, and I used to style a lot of the people who were in there. Most were celebrities, hence giving me that title as a celebrity wardrobe stylist. And you get to a point where as a wardrobe stylist where you feel like you reach this glass ceiling and you want to know more, which pushed me into the realm of being an image consultant. And so thankfully I was able to get a credential. I'm a certified image consultant, a global image consultant by way of Fariel, who gave me kind of like the title of being the first Black African American male in Philadelphia certified under her. So I'm proud of that accomplishment, and I'm proud to continue to do what I do as it relates to fashion. You mentioned the Beast, and I got in the Beast via the Met. I heard about it, and I think what attracted me to the Beast was the idea of the fashion aspect, that it had different hoods that you can slide in or feel right at home with, right? Most projects, you have a project and that's that, right? Either you like the art or not, or I guess the goal is to don't get left with the bag but flip and make money funds from it. You either like the art, but I think with this it created this idea of culture, and I like the arts and culture aspect of it. And so, you got the B Street, the different hoods, and I always wanted to get into the fashion hood of it. So after I did my research, because before I get into a project now, I always do like research on it. And part of me staying within a project or staying active is seeing one, the community. The community was dope. The community was lit. But the idea of something that was specific to me outside of how dynamic the art was, but just the culture and the fashion aspect. Studio 66 was all about fashion, right? It was specific to fashion as to the scope that I'm in, and that's why I wanted to get into Kids Called Beast, because there's nothing really like that out there. I mean, you had Hate, Diesel Hate, that kind of did like a fashion perspective that I actually own that token also. But I think this one was specific and intentional with having a hood cultured or centered around fashion, and that's what that's how I kind of got into it, did the research, and was able to mint. It was a little hiccups doing the
Yeah,
minute, but I
yeah.
got it together, and kudos to to Rasby. Kudos to the community because I think that's what solidified me just how dynamic the community was, how smart, intelligent, fashionable, how witty they were, and were able to, do their due diligence and assist with some of the issues that happened during that event. And so, they continued doing a great job with the Beast Hoods, and that's pretty much how I got into.
Yeah, that's kind of one thing that I like about the Beast in terms of you was mentioning like they offer something that's really not out there a lot, and I could tell the way the project was laid out together. I could tell it was a very thorough process in terms of how they laid out the Beast hoods because that eliminates a lot of the confusion in terms of like, well, what do I do and how do I contribute? You already know based on what hood that you go to or you identify with. Then you might not necessarily know what to do off jump, but then you at least have an idea or a direction of where you're going. And I like the fact that they already had that in place, and they cover so many vast areas across entertainment, music, mental health, like whatever. You can join and kind of see yourself a part of like a community. Because I'm in Studio 66 myself, and like that's what I like doing. I like content creating, just
Right.
interviewing people like yourself. Like that's what I enjoy like coming into space, and that's kind of like my value proposition. So like with the Beast Hoods, like I could just tell the way Rasby goes about things. Like I just like him as a founder. Like for me, the projects that I definitely had the deepest conviction in, I'm always like, I always have like a, I don't even know what you put it. It's just I really just identify with the founder's vision. Like
Yeah.
that's always been like a just a common staple.
Yeah. But you know what? Kudos to Rasky too, because again, when we're talking about projects, one of the things I look for in really jumping into a project is outside of the community, the founders, are they doxxed? And I mean, Rasky literally 100% doxxed, and that gives a level of accountability that you have to have, right? I mean, all of us have gotten into projects and the rug was pulled from under us, so to speak, right? And we were left with the bag or a trashy project or something like that. But literally, you have someone that the community knows and the community supports because he supports the community. And I think that's what kind of keeps me motivated and to think about keeping my token because I meant it and left it where it was, literally a soft state, right? I didn't even think about selling at all. I never thought about selling my beast. My beast is the only one that, in terms of the tokens that I own, is the only one that I have in a separate wallet all to itself. And
Mm.
so that says a lot, right? And I don't plan on selling at all. I'm keeping it because I know there's always this talk of the IP and how you're using it. But I think Beast is a forever piece, as they said. That's my forever piece.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm trying to cop a few more beats or whatever. I know the price is kind of low right now, so for those that's watching,
Yeah,
it's a great entry point to get in if you're interested
absolutely.
in getting in. And I know there's a couple more hoods I like to be a part of.
Yeah,
Even with that, and like Rasby, he's always active. Like I
yeah.
always see him speaking on
100%.
spaces and like interacting with the communities, and that says a lot during this time of the market just because it's really not a lot going on right now in terms of just the
That's right.
market, but he's still drawing up different things. It's just like the way the beast community, like I just like how people think in there in terms of like they're thinking about just how they can extract value from their NFT value of it, just like multiple ways instead of just like, oh, I'm just looking to come in here and flip. There's a lot more builders that come into this project, so it kind of like has a certain culture that he's created, and I think that is like a lot of projects try to duplicate that, but in the way in which they do, they don't really have like a set process to where it's kind of laid out with a foundation and you could kind of find your way. It's just, well, other projects kind of duplicate the same thing. The canvas is totally blank, and like I don't know what direction you're going in. I don't even know your value proposition. Like, I just think like I said, he's just very thorough in the way that like he goes about it. I did also want to ask, so you're in Studio 66, And I know you mentioned like you're doing your image brand. Um, I don't know if you had touched on this like a little bit before, but if you could dive deeper on just like how exactly you going to try to incorporate your beast like into your fashion, like would it be something to where you're going to try to bring your IP and sell merch, or kind of do different things of that realm, or kind of brand it in certain aspects where you can monetize, just any of those possibilities?
You know what? Ironically, man, that's an excellent question. And, you know, in mentioning my beast, I never even thought about how I would use it aside from I got a dynamic NFT, I got a dynamic token, and I'm gonna save it. Maybe I'll flip it later, but I got connected to it, right? I actually mentioned a different beast, and I understood. I don't know if you were you part of the understanding where you was able to take the test, the identity test, and match your beast up with you? Did you take that test?
Yeah, I took the like the if you refer to the Beast Hood test, like what hood are you a
Yeah,
part of? Yeah, I took that
right.
test and then it kind of led me to Studio 66.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? That's exactly what happened. So when I minted, it gave me, I think I minted the little hiccup with the mint, kind of like forced me just to kind of mint, right? But the test that I took said that I was Studio 66, which I kind of already knew, right? I know me, you know. But I minted one and then I just quickly flipped it. Someone offered me a nice price for the beast that I had, because that's when the FOMO was nuts, right? And so I was able to just kind of flip and jump into or opt into Studio 66. But the crazy thing is, if you look at my beast, it is me, right? And so I will probably never sell that. So if I do get a, think about selling anything, it would be a beast that I'll purchase off a secondary, right? That I get off the secondary. But my beast right now, it reminds people of me. That's my swag, that's my flavor, that's my sauce, that's my juice, whatever adjective you want to say, right, to describe, a descriptive word of me, that's what it is. And thinking of what the IP was, I really wasn't thinking of anything, not until I started doing, you know, my shows. And I was just like, wow, I'm getting really heavy into this space, really heavy into understanding what this whole metaverse and Web3 thing is, right? I'm a NFT collector over maybe 200 NFTs that I do have. But there's three NFTs that in terms of the projects that I dove in. One is Kid Called Beast, and the other one is Sneakerheads, right? And so those dynamic communities is what keeps you in there and keep you thinking, what can I do? How else can I amplify what this token is and what this token means? And once I did my fashion show that I do, I said, you know what, I got it. I'm just going to incorporate, the things that I already do, right? And one of those things in terms of, fashion, I had put together a fashion show last year that was really well, and it was the innovation, or the subline was innovation in fashion, right? Pushing forward to the metaverse. And so I had designers who, were creating different styles that would be emblematical to what you would see in terms of the fashion tech space. What you're seeing in this fashion and AI fashion is dynamic clothing. And I had a designer, Deshar, who was able to create things that look just like that, right? And so the idea of what digital means, the physical aspect and the digital aspect, what is that intersectionality, right? And so this fashion show, I was able to, think consistently to what I did last year and create something that was even more profound, and including my beast neck, right? And so that's one of the things that I'm going to amplify, because if we're thinking of what the digital spaces, what the fashion spaces, and incorporating them both, a lot of what I do are within the NFT space, right? And I did a lecture not too long ago in Punta Cana for an organization that I'm with called Your Style is Non-Fungible, right? And so we break down those terms and say, well, what does non-fungible mean? Literally, it's unique, right? So if you say your style is Non-fungible literally is saying that your style is unique, right? And so that whole kind of concept of what digital is and the intersection between the physical and the digital and fashion, and that's what my scope is, utilizing my IP with the beast and introducing the hood aspect of the beast, which is Studio 66. That's what this whole thing is about. So utilizing that whole kind of concept of what the beast is and the representation of it, it goes into my fashion space and the fashion things that I'm doing. If
Man,
it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, man, that it's so interesting, man. Cause I mean, I'll be transparent, man. I don't know a ton about the fashion industry, but I know enough that it generates a lot of money, and you know that
Right.
yeah, and it's something and it's something to like take note of in that industry. Even though I necessarily don't participate, it doesn't mean money and value and deals and networking and things like that ain't being extracted or whatever. And like it's a big industry, humongous industry. Like we got to put on clothes every single day. So the fact that you're even even the non fungible, like that even the play on words or whatever, that's even a great concept in general. And then just being able to like tie that in like with Web3, like that's why I just to me it's just in the point in the space to just hear everybody's ideas within the community
Yeah.
and like ideas like yourself. It's inspiring to hear, just to see what ideas people be coming up with, they beasts and like crazy concepts, like because like what you got going on, I never thought about it. Like, to be honest, like I would have went over my head, but the fact that you're doing it, that's crazy, man. Just like you got a lot. I know in terms of um I had checked out like some links on your website or whatever, and I know I'm gonna drop your website below. I know you
Okay.
was it was a link to the Metaverse Fashion Council.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know if you could like speak to that, as far as just because you was talking about AI clothing and like different AI fashion. Could you speak to more along that round in terms of your involvement or your role in that in any capacity?
Yeah, sure. And so, the Metaverse Fashion Council, was something that I happened just to bump into with, my kind of like voyage in the fashion space, so to speak, right? And they were doing this conference, like this metaverse fashion conference, and I jumped into it because I'm like, yo, I want to know everything there is about fashion and this whole idea of what AI fashion is and generative fashion is, and this concept of what a group of people are coming together to push more the narrative of what Web3 and fashion, that whole Web3 and fashion space. And so I found out about the organization, and I jumped into it, became a member, and was part of well, I didn't do anything, but I joined a lot of the lectures and the information that they were given, and pretty much my role within the space is just being a member and hopefully an active member, just com- completely pushing the importance of the collaboration of what fashion means within the space, right? Because you have people within fashion, right? And literally, as soon as you say fashion, most people only think couture, right? They only think of gowns and dresses because that's what they push. Open Vogue, you open W, you think of gowns. If you think about men, you think of maybe suits and things. But there's this whole different conversation as it relates to like streetwear and street style, right? And so that's a whole nother fashion aspect. And so when you think of that's just the IRL conversation. We didn't even get to this whole digital conversation and this whole metaverse conversation. And, it was just something that was inspiring to me as the Metaverse Fashion Council to be specific with the the focus that they're with or that they're putting together. And it was just a group of people, smart people, who were talking about what is this mission or an initiative in fashion going to be, right? We're seeing Dolce Gabbana, we're seeing Hermes that had an issue with the Birkin bag, right? And you're seeing artifacts. You're seeing Nike and they're doing certain things. You're seeing a lot of major designers. Dolce & Gabbana did the first Metaverse Fashion Week, right? And so you're talking about all these major brands doing certain things within the Web3 space. So that has to make you think, these major brands, these are, you know, you're talking about household names, right? That we constantly want to get aware every day from the Nikes, right? To fashion sneaks to now being able to be whomever you want to be within this space, right? You have this whole conversation on what DEI is, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion. You have people literally can be a unicorn if they want, right? So now we're thinking of how big this fashion conversation can be. And that's what I seen with the Metaverse Fashion Council. And that was then. They pivoted and they're even bigger now and, creating their own token is, tokenomics piece of, being able to create yourself and be a part of something that you can live and be decentralized forever, right? A part of this fashion council, and they're continuing to grow. They're continuing to have these meetings, and that's pretty much my part is just being a member, being active, and hope that I can, contribute to this whole conversation of Web3 now within the space.
Man, you kind of got, man, that's interesting, man. You kind of got my mind going in terms of like, just a lot of different things you were saying. I was just like, damn, like I kind of like, yo, what's this? But I didn't want to cut you off. But but I guess like even with the metaverse fashion and a lot of things like that really does it. I guess just in that industry, there's so much room for different brands to come in. Like I'll just kind of just imagine if like let's like for instance like a Gucci brand came in to that ecosystem and let's say they started drawing up clothing or different things, and then let's say Gucci decided to release a token, and based on how many tokens you have you could have this amount of fashion just affiliated with their brands. Are they trying to like go after like bigger name Web2 brands and introduce them to like Web3 from that standpoint? Is that something that they're going after, or are they kind of trying to create their own like I guess brands and IPs and incubation systems, or is it both, a mixture of both?
So are you talking about the council?
Yeah, like the council, like that whole aspect in terms of like them. Let's say like a Gucci did want to jump on that type of jump in with that ecosystem. Is that something that y'all reaching out to, like, well, just specifically like that part of it is reaching out to those type of brands?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, think of it like this. You have people within that luxury fashion space on the council,
Mm.
right? And so they're pushing they're pushing a whole concept of the learning and growing, right? And so it's just an amazing thing to know that you can be a part of something where you have the creative directors of, say for example, Louis Vuitton that are a part of or working with people within the council, because
Mm.
these are the people who are creating the digital fashion, the generative fashion, right? And AI. These are the people who are, coding and being the engineers of what this stuff is. You know what I mean? And creating these apps and when we think of like DressX, the creator and founder of DressX is part of the fashion council, right?
Wow.
All of these people within the fashion space or context are jumping into the council and creating new lanes and opportunities and funding for people to even start creating. You don't even have to be a major brand, right? And I feel like I'm an advocate for the council because I mean it's a lot of stuff that I'm sure that I don't know, right? But I just think it's an excellent place to go and network and meet the people that are the who's who within the fashion space of AI, generative AI, right? The code that they're creating in addition to these dynamic apps, the digital space, Web3, everything within fashion. And this is the conversation that they have been having, having the conferences and doing conferences that's talking specifically about the movers and shakers in the space. You're meeting people who are creating new content within the space, creating new digital clothing within the space. These are going to be the who's who. Because literally, and you guys had a conversation earlier on a spaces that you did about, we're still in a bear market right now. Can you imagine when the bull run starts to happen again? When we get in the bull market and this stuff that we're getting, a pair of Dolce & Gabbana sneakers that, that came out of one of the boxes that came. It was like $1,200 back then. Right now, you can get a cheap one almost like maybe $500. When a bull run come, I mean, literally, 500 on 5,000.
Yeah.
Right, and so a lot of the stuff that's happening, you want a 2x, 3x, and 4x, but we're still new. We're still early in the space, and I think, you're probably one of the smartest people that I've been following or listening to. You're probably one of the smartest people that I've been hearing in the space. So you kind of understand that, where we were just 6 months ago is completely different than where we are today.
Yeah.
So can you imagine what another 6 months to a year will be from now? What we think we know now may be completely different. So we're really early in the space, and it's good to have these think tanks. And I just bring it back to the Metaverse Fashion Council. It's a huge think tank of smart and witty people that's really trying to grab a hold of what this web fashion is, this generative fashion is, and get a stronghold and start to push the narrative the correct way instead of it being a wild west, which literally it is in Web3 right now. The blockchain is a wild west of rugs to money to people stealing money to scams and all types of things. And so we have to start to think about how we can start connecting and giving information to people who will be new to onboard within the space. Because if we don't, then we won't have the space. We will always have the people or the naysayers saying, or the big banks, this is why you need to be centralized, because it's all this stuff happening. But we have the responsibility of making sure that we do the right thing within the space and onboard people correctly.
Yeah, man. I definitely agree. You definitely have to onboard people in a certain manner and way. Otherwise, when they come in here, they're gonna have a bad experience, and then they're gonna say, "Oh, NLTs are a scam," and that, like, we already got enough people in the space saying that as is, so we don't really need no more of that. So I just think, like you mentioned, just the process of onboarding people, and then too, that's kind of like the more I get into the space, the more I realize that, like, just like them think tanks, like you talk about, those are necessary and needed, just because there's so much blank canvas. Like, it's almost as if, like, people don't know how to, like, be creative or come up with innovative things. They kind of just want to do this copy and paste type of shit, and people don't really know how to just, it's not necessarily think for themselves, but they just don't know how to just tap into their imagination again. I think we've been so programmed to just be a certain way, and then once the canvas is blank, everybody's just sitting around like, what do I do? And, like, that's not really, our imagination is not stretched enough or whatever. So I would just say, just with a lot of this, and you kind of just even alluded to my next question in terms of, like, what you was talking about in terms of, like, a lot of these different brands or just different things you're spending money on that could be worth like $500 a day, and it could be worth $5,000 in a bull. In terms of, like, could you, if you had any more thoughts on tapping into, I guess, like, your ideal scenario in terms of, like, if everything in your perfect world, if everything went right for the beast in terms of your fashion brand, all the organizations that you're affiliated with, combined with the beast community, what would be your perfect ideal situation? What is your perfect world?
Man, that's an excellent question, and again, it's hard to say what it is because it might change tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just wild because my perfect scenario right now is to be able to have the full support of the community, to see what I'm doing and support kind of like this idea of excelling in fashion and with the beast. There's no one really doing that right now as a beast, right? And so just kind of like spearhead the movement that we can, all jump on and say, okay, this is a lane that we essentially can go into and, open the doors for other people who might come and start doing different events with their IP as a factional beast in Studio 66 or something, or a content creator that's representing the beast, right? But, the ideal situation for me, Ernest, is what we're doing now, man. Just the constant conversation on how we all can scale, right? If I can onboard people who look like us, who look like me,
Yeah.
get them in a space and be a creative, and get excited about like, yo, this is something different. Start to think differently. I think that's kind of what you were talking about. It's like people have been thinking the same. People have to start thinking different. The space is different. There's different rules in this space, right? What we thought we was boxed in the IRL situation, literally we can fly in the metaverse. Think about it. You can literally fly, grow wings.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want in the metaverse. And so thinking that way, I think that's the, where a perfect situation would be, is just expanding the space, being able to have these conversations, me being able to lecture at a school that's now talking about Web3. Schools are going to start to create curriculums based around this, right? And we are at the forefront of creating curriculum for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't imagine how many people still don't know or get the idea of what an NFT is. I still get, from a lot of my friends, what the fuck is an NFT? You know what I'm saying? And so for us, I think we have to be cognizant of, we're in a space so much that we talk as if we already, in terms that someone that's new in the space won't have a clue. But we're so used to talking this way. Literally, we don't use NFT anymore, right? We're using digital assets, digital tokens, right? Well, the cool, how mainstream presents it is NFTs. And so we're already talking about these digital tokens, digital assets. Well, we already lost the new person that's trying to onboard. Mm-hmm. So those are the conversations and the expansion of the thinking that we have to be cognizant of when we're bringing people in a space and saying, what's the next step? And in the perfect world for me, IRL will go right alongside with this whole digital space for me, Web3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think people really don't understand that, like, a lot of it, just the people, like, you really don't know, like, who's going to be who in like 5 years. Mm-hmm. It's just the people that you was just building, like getting it in the mud with. Those people could, like, be the next, whatever in a project. And just even like a project, like a kid called Beast, like, let's say fast forward, this project is still around, and everything. Just being able to say, like, you was one of the first major Web3 brands, you could leverage that into an entire, major company or whatever. I think people don't look at it like that. They just look at it just like, oh, it's some art image. Like, we just sitting up here, chatting like we ain't got nothing to do, just hoping the price go up. I'm like, no, like, these are legitimate companies that have IPs. And I think people need to start looking at it like that, in terms of, like, I just think they look at it one-sided in terms of, like, they see the PFP, but that's all they see. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes, as far as, this is just the cover. The PFP ain't shit. Like, we could change the PFP or whatever. Not to say the art is not good, but I'm saying, like, this is just the cover. The actual book is, like, actually getting it in there, having these conversations like me and you are having, seeing what you could do with Blender, just IP, different creative ideas, think takes. I get a network over here, I can network with something. That is the book that opens. This is just the cover. And I just think people just cannot separate the two. They're just like, how y'all making money off this shit? It's just a fucking image. That's what they see. And, like, and it's, I feel your pain, because it's just like, it's hard. Like, I try to explain it, it's just like, it just don't go through. Like, and I think it's going to take like a event like the bull cycle to be like, all right, I'm showing you, this is how this is extracting money, and this is how I'm doing these things in this community. I think it's going to take, like, people, because that's the way kind of like my mindset is going in terms of like people that's in here building now. If you continue to stay in here, everybody's followings is going to increase, like multiplied times 10, 20, 50, 100,000 X followers or whatever, just by just the level of respect that you saw it early. You saw it before anybody else. That's why, you know, that's something that I always do as far as people that's been in the space longer than me. You know, I always try to show that respect because they saw the vision before I did. You know, that's why I just like, if this space really grows, like I know personally, like I said, I'm in B Street, so I love music. So I want to incorporate, I have ideas and plans to incorporate things with my beast. But just in terms of like even Nipsey Hussle, like I have so much respect for him because if this crypto, just this whole narrative, like really does come to fruition, I feel like he's gonna be like the Albert Einstein of crypto in terms of like he saw it like way before everybody else did. Like even when I go back and watch some of his videos back in like 2017, 2016, 2015, I'm like, damn, some of the stuff that he's talking about is coming true today. And I feel like, you know, that's how early we are, is you really have a blank canvas to like set up your entire, just everything across the board, like as far as your social medias, your followings, like who you're connected to, the projects that you're in. So I would just say for the viewers watching, like, you know, definitely take advantage of whatever, and like, you know, definitely like take that test in terms of even to find out what beasthood you are, because like for those watching, you know who you are. But I wanted to also, huh?
No, I was saying it's amazing. I mean, you know, and another thing about this, because I could talk about the beast all day. This is one of the projects that I could talk all day about. And I hate to, you know, sound like a fanboy, right? But when you talk about something that is inclusive with utility, that's inherent utility, that's really special when it comes to a project. Most people, when they talk utility, they're saying something along the lines of, well, we got merch coming out, or you'll be able to do this, but the utility of what the ingrained kind of like concept of culture and the hoods, that was already there for us to take and run with it, you know. And just the test alone, what other I mean, I'm in so many. I mean, you hear my Discord popping off right now, but it's like, how many projects have you ever been on that you took a test to find out how much of a related concept this is to you as a person?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Crickets. There's crickets. You're not going to get another, right? Which shows how well this thing was thought out. I mean, he built, like I said, the team over there, Rasby and the team, like, this is a special project, and I'll definitely be grabbing another one. You know, the more and more you talk, the more I get excited. Like, I gotta grab another Studio 66. Like, you know, I mean, if I'm gonna have a whole runway full of it. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of one of the things. So that's why I like to have these exchanges and these conversations, because I mean, it makes you think. So kudos to you, my friend.
Yeah, even like and I appreciate that, man. Even like the fitness beast, that's, you know, I also want to get in there as well. That's a hood that I would like to join, just because, you know, one, I like to, you know, stay active, you know, try to work out. Sometimes I kind of fell off way hard in terms of, you know, this crypto world. I've been in deep or whatever. But even from that standpoint, like I like watching sports, and even just things I do casually, I can still tie back down to my beast or whatever. And, you know, that could just be some community building just in general. And then like, you know, it could be things like that that happen to develop into opportunities. But like sports is just something that I just like to do just as a activity or whatever, as far as watching, and I'm a fan and stuff. But the fact that you could incorporate that into your beast is just like, that shows you the versatility of the project. Like, I don't know too many projects that could pull that off, where they could do fashion and sports and make it make sense at the same time. Like, I don't see that happen every day.
It ain't. I mean, like I said, you're gonna hear crickets.
Yeah.
You know, you know, I listen. Any other project, you know, that's like, let us know.
Yeah.
You'll be hard pressed to find it. And I'll do you one even better. The incorporation that he did with the female beast, the women beast. I mean, just the whole intersection of the inclusivity of King Kong Beast, you're not gonna find it. It's just this is a special project that I'm just proud to be a part of.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Yeah, once again, man, I appreciate you for having you on, man. I know we kind of coming to the just the end of the conversation, but I did want to ask just for like a closing question. And also, man, there's any blinks or whatever, just anything you want to shout out, definitely feel free to do that. I'm gonna let you have the last word. But I just wanted to ask, like, what can we expect from Charles Gregory just in the future, just Web3 ventures, partnerships, and then also, do you have any more like additional tips for somebody that's looking to get into the beach community or like different things like that, or just somebody from the outside looking in, any other additional tips you can give them? But I'm gonna let you have the last word.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. So shout out to first and foremost, shout out to you, like in doing this because I think you're doing a huge service to the community and for the community of the beast specifically, right? I know we're talking about kid called beast, but um outside of that, it's a lot of people that's gonna onboard, right? And they're gonna look at video and content like this and say like, oh wow, well now I need to consider what Kick Off Beast is because I have something that reminds me of me, literally from the glasses to. In fact, I just shared something on my Twitter at Charles Gregory. Everybody can find me at Charles Gregory. Um, but I have a tan blazer that looks like my beast jacket. I wear glasses just like my beast, and it's the same color as me. Literally, what my beast is wearing, I would wear. That's why I say it's a forever beast, which means I need to get more so I can park that one and play with others, right? And so, but what you're doing is very significant, and so I definitely want to give you the first shout out for that, But I'm gonna shout out everybody that's in the community. This has been one of the spaces that I learned a lot. That I've been pleasantly surprised with the people I've been meeting in the space, right? Usually you have a lot of people who are kind of put you at arm's length, like don't get too close, but man, I got some brothers in the space, man, that that don't look like me. That's my white counterpart. That's my Arab counterpart. That's my my from different places within the world, man. We have some sitting in VCs and having conversations, and I'm talking to someone, he's saying GM. I'm like, GM, what time is it over there? He like, it's 7 o'clock. I'm 7 a.m. It's like 7 p.m. here, right? And so we're having these conversations, man, and it's just an amazing time where people are getting together and it's true love who look differently, but we all here for the same thing, right? It's the same mission, the same movement. And that's what I love about this space, man. People you never met before from across the globe that you become brothers with because you're spending so much time in these projects, right? And so I'm just excited about that. But the next thing for Charles Gregory is more fashion content, being able to, have these conversations. I think one of the perfect as they say, what's the perfect picture for you within a space is to be able to do things like this, go to a college and talk to, the kids, the students about what an NFT is, talk about Web3, talk about all this stuff, and I'll get ready to end here. One of the things that I usually say to someone that's on board and as it relates to what all of this is, right? Is not the kids. The kids get it because they're growing up in the space, right? And so I say this, especially to like the parents. I say, just loosely put, you're in the space, so you're gonna understand. But loosely put, I say, so do your child play Fortnite? Yeah, my child play Fortnite. All right. Do they ever ask you for V-Bucks? Yeah, I get them money for V-Bucks. What do they buy with their V-Bucks? They buy some stupid skins and stuff they fly around. I said, literally, what you said you didn't understand, that's exactly what this is. Literally, V-Bucks will be consistent to what cryptocurrency is.
Yeah.
Skins will be very close to what an NFT is. And I said, where they're playing, Fortnite is very consistent to what the metaverse is. So if you parallel that, you get the concept. You just didn't know. And that's the way that we're going to have to onboard people, by giving them, familiar examples that they're already doing, so they can get that aha moment. And I think that's where we are with this stuff, just walking them through it, and, us doing our due diligence. And like I said, we're in the space, we're really early in the space. I'm just happy to be here. Shout out to like all the dudes. I'm part of the alpha group called Dudes, and I love it. And they're working on certain things. Shout out to Sean that he's working on, and his team is working on some innovative things. You talk about mining, but mining via solar power, right? That one of the major things that has been, part of the conversational why people that's not in the space don't like Ethereum or crypto, is because they're saying the carbon footprint, right? But you're talking about people who are working on devices that is utilizing clean energy now, right? So there's no more excuse to why you feel like you can't get into the space. But these are people that I met just literally within this context of what Web3 is, right? And so shout out to like my brothers over there, dude. Shout out to, Sneakerheads. Shout out to Doge Pound. Shout out to, all the other NFTs that I'm a part of, man. The projects, it's great people everywhere. I met you. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm happy about that, because this is going to be a long-lasting relationship. I consider my brother from another, right? And so we're going to continue to build. So I just appreciate you, considering me bringing Charles Gregory on, because this is what I do.
Nah, definitely, man. I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate you coming on and just having this interview, man. And like, just looking to, it's always exciting, man. Just meeting new people in the beast community, and seeing just the ideas they have. Because I'm always inspired by ideas, man. But definitely, man. I'm gonna drop all your links below in the description. Just make sure you just follow him at Twitter. I'm gonna drop all those links below. Social media, follow, get at his website. He has just certain services and different things. And I see you out here, man. Your website looks clean, it's laid out, man. But yeah, no problem, man. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. This is another episode of Beast TV. I'm your host, Stu. It's Stu TV. I cover all things blockchain, metaverse, crypto, NFTs, all money making opportunities in space. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.